Finally, here I am in Washington, a state where a man can smoke weed in his gay-ass fingerless gloves and no one thinks less of him. Or at least they can't put him in jail for it. You know, I was really sad when I ran out of BuzzFeed questions for white people and questions for men videos, because I thought that I'd never get another chance to make one of my famous answer videos, you know? But today I was given a great gift. A gift by the SJW community of YouTube. They put out a video called Reasonable Questions for Anti-SJWs. And holy fuck, it's 14 minutes long. So I can get like 3 videos out of this drivel. So thanks, SJWs of YouTube. You just made me a shitload of money. Yeah. So welcome to Answers for SJWs, part 1 of 3, everybody. That legal ass Washington weed, oh yeah. We're gonna have ourselves a good old time, so kick back and make your girlfriend pour you a drink and let's take a magical journey into the heart of SJWdom with me, the amazing atheist.
Are you able to understand the irony of responding to the perceived political correctness of the left with exasperated reactionary hypersensitivity of your own?
Well, when you talk about our reactions being exaggerated, you have to realize that we are entertainers to varying degrees. We're trying to make content that not only expresses ourselves and our ideas, but is also entertaining for a viewer. A bit of exaggeration is just theatricality. But I think that if you were to go honestly watch the videos in my Anti-Feminism playlist, you'd see that behind any sort of comedic exaggeration, there are cogent points being made. And they're points, by the way, that your side has consistently failed to address in any sort of substantive way. But I'm sorry, I really haven't answered your question, have I? You asked if I was aware of the irony of being of criticizing SJWs for their hyper reactions, while all the while I too am engaging in hyper reactions. I guess it would be ironic if I truly thought it were comparable, but I don't. I don't think that me, or Sargon, or Undoomed, or Shoe on Head, or Armored Skeptic, or Chris Raygun, or anyone else making anti-SJW content, I can't think of a single time that any of them acted in a manner similar to the targets of our mockery. I've never conducted myself as poorly as Trigglypuff, or Big Red, or the feminist lynch mob who wanted this poor guy's head because he wore a shirt they didn't like, or this feminist who got a man fired for telling a joke about dongles. The worst thing I've done is a little light cyberbullying every now and then, but that's nothing in comparison. I think it's also important to recognize that we get exasperated about things that are far more relevant than the things that feminists get exasperated about. Like, feminists get angry when their college has a speaker they don't like, or because they were triggered when they saw that Huck Finn has the word nigger in it, or because a video game character was dressed too immodestly. In other words, feminists are morons who get upset over silly, symbolic issue bullshit. They interpret every harmless thing as a slight against them, which puts people on edge, which makes people feel like they're walking on eggshells, which makes the world a shittier and less interesting place. So SJWs are crybabies who throw tantrums, and the anti-SJW side, we're reasonable people using theatrical techniques and humor to make points. At least that's how I perceive things. So no, I don't see the irony.
What is it with you people and skulls?
Well, it's pretty plain to see that skulls look cool. They just do.
How do you define right-wing? Anti-SJWs often have an aversion to being labelled as right-wing, yet they regularly defend the right and bash the left. Therefore, why is being labelled right-wing a bad thing to you? And if it's because right-wing is used as a pejorative, can you not see how labelling people as SJWs or regressives is also pejorative?
I don't want to be labeled right-wing because it's inaccurate. I am pro-choice. I am in favor of raising the minimum wage. I'm in favor of more strictly prosecuting fraud on Wall Street. I'm in favor of criminal justice reform. I'm in favor of a robust array of legal recreational drugs. I'm anti-war. I'm pro-LGBT. I'm pretty aloof towards the subject of immigration, and I really don't give a fuck about people speaking Spanish around me. I think Planned Parenthood is a good thing. I think climate change is an extremely serious issue. I think there are some gun regulations that totally make sense. So I don't fit in with America's right wing. Now, I understand I don't fit in with the left wing either, because I don't like identity politics. I don't support language policing. I don't support the touchy-feely, coddling nonsense. I don't support being told that I must respect others' cultures, because I don't. I don't respect anyone's culture. I don't respect the idea that I should be constantly concerned with other people's feelings. I don't go around trying to hurt people's feelings. Well, usually I don't. Sometimes I do. I mean, sometimes I do just want to piss people off. Okay, sure, yeah. But usually I'm just trying to express my own thoughts and feelings, and other people come tell me not to because it hurts their feelings. Well, how come your feelings trump my feelings? Because you're somehow oppressed and I'm somehow powerful? I don't like being treated as though I've inherently done something wrong and should feel bad just because my skin is the same color as some people who did a bad thing way back a long time ago. I don't believe that I was born into anyone's debt. I don't believe that by virtue of my race I am accountable to other people of different races because my ancestors were unfair to them, or their ancestors, or my ancestors created a world that they perceive as unfair. I mean, I'm digressing here, so just to recap, I don't fit in with the left or the right wing in America, but I definitely share more values with the left than I do the right. So I would probably accept being called left wing, but it's very inaccurate to call me right wing.
Rather than telling people you disagree with to drink bleach, wouldn't it be more productive for you to have an actual conversation about the issues you feel matter? Or is it just easier to do the bleach thing?
I've made plenty of videos espousing lots of positions, and I've never seen you come before me to refute any of them. So how can you tell me that I'm the one avoiding conversation? I have roundly criticized feminists and SJWs on YouTube for many years now, and I can count on my fingers, my fingerless gloved fingers, how many times any of you have attempted to make any sort of reasoned rebuttal to what I've said. This notion that we're the ones avoiding having actual dialogue, I'm sorry to say, it's fucking absurd.
You claim to be proponents of rational, logical, evidence-based argumentation. That's great. That's entirely laudable. But when I look at your online activity, when I look at, I don't know, for example, your Twitter feed, that's often not what I see. How do you reconcile this claim to be evidence-based and rational and logical against stuff like, oh, I was just trolling you, oh, I was just shitposting, or TLDR?
You really just kind of answered your own question, didn't you? I mean, what does having an evidence-based worldview have to do with never making a joke, or comedically exaggerating something, or trolling someone? What about saying, I need empirical evidence of a thing before I believe in it? What about that precludes one from being an internet troll or a shitlord? I don't see where the contradiction is.
No, seriously? What is it with you people and skulls?
Skulls still look cool.
Are you aware that the ridiculous buzzwords you helped to popularize, like SJW and cuck and regressive, have all lost whatever meaning they once had and only serve now as casual insults and pejoratives to derail any meaningful conversation?
You say these terms are ridiculous and designed to derail conversation, but isn't it really your outfit that you're talking about? You look like someone let the air out of a 70s porn star. I mean, what's going on here? Is that a towel, or are you wearing a toga? I mean, I kind of hope it's a toga, I guess, because that's just fucking hilarious.
For the last time, what is it with you people and committing actual literal felonies? Like, you might want to work on that? I mean, I thought the Ralph retort was so rational when he was fantasizing about beating up women with dyed hair, but then he assaulted a police officer, and finally I was convinced.
I don't have any felonies under my belt, and I've never heard of the Ralph retort, so why exactly am I being lumped in with him? What unites the two of us together to the point where I need to answer for his actions?
In videos and in the comment sections, anti-feminists often take up the most extreme or the weakest feminist position they can find, or they just straight up misrepresent what the feminist position is. Instead, why not take up the strongest, most robust feminist argument you can find and really challenge yourself?
Well, that wasn't the least bit condescending. I feel like Sargon and Thunderfoot and I and all the others have addressed a large variety of feminist points, both large and small, If you feel like we're going after easy targets, then point me to something you think is a hard target, and I'll show you how easy it is for me to shred that into confetti, just like the terrible argument that it is.
I am deeply concerned with male addiction rates, suicide rates, and abuse rates, because I have worked with these issues in the quote-unquote real world. Would you be willing as anti-feminists to put aside your differences with feminists for the greater good of addressing these issues, especially as the kind of solutions needed are not necessarily gendered? And if so, I would actually like you to let me know, because I'm not fucking around or presenting any gotchas here. I actually really think that we could get something done if we work together. So, yeah.
If you and I worked together on this project, what exactly would you be adding to the project? I bring 1 million subscribers who have raised money for multiple charities over my time on this channel. My audience has helped girls in the third world have access to education, all to prove that we were more willing to help girls than feminists were. We were actually willing to help girls in countries where gender discrimination is still a real thing and it's not just a pet issue of the professional victim class. My audience has built wells in Africa to help shore up water instabilities in the region. My audience raised enough money to bring sustainable water to 4 different villages. My audience also raised money to save animals displaced by Katrina. So while you and your ilk sit around talking about doing something, my audience and I have actually been financially trying to make a difference. While you talk about making lives better for women, we actually do it. While you talk about how much you love black people, we actually build wells for black people who are not fortunate enough to live in the West. Black people over in Africa are worried about where their next drink of water is coming from. Black people in America are worried about the statistically very unlikely event that they will be shot by a cop. Who's got the bigger problems? You be the judge. Everything you say that you admire, I actually embody. So you should fucking adore me. And you should know enough about me to know that I don't need your help to make a difference. Just recently, I held a charity for the families affected by the Nice terror attacks, and we raised $10,000 for those families. If you want to help so bad, then I'll tell you what. The next time I do a charity event, why don't you shut your fucking mouth and open your wallet? That's how you can help me make a difference, bitch.
What is third wave feminism? Because I've often heard you folks insist that you have no objection to feminism in general. It's specifically third wave feminism that you have a quarrel with. So what is third wave feminism specifically? And what specifically about third wave feminism do you have such a problem with?
Oh shit, it's Steve Shives. I didn't know he was in this. Well, he has an internet restraining order against me, so here's Kraut and Tea to respond to him instead.
What is third wave feminism?
Stop. There really only is one single thing to say about Steve Shives. But before I do so, let me tell you a fun little story. The story of how I was blocked by Steve Shives. When I started my YouTube channel, I contacted bigger YouTubers and asked them for advice on how to run the YouTube channel. One of them graciously replied with telling me that a Twitter account is an essential part of being a YouTuber to promote yourself and get into contact with other YouTubers. So I made a Twitter account and then I spent 2 days on Twitter not posting anything but searching and following newspapers, politicians, intellectuals, artists and YouTubers to follow. And after 2 days, some random person, one of the first people to follow me, asked me, "Are you blocked by Steve Shives?" I looked him up and yes, I was. I was blocked for following accounts he happens to think are mean. This is one of the most damning things about him. This is a guy who built a wall around himself to protect his pretty little worldview from any outside interference. And justification for having your opinions and arguments shut out of his presence is not anything you may have ever said yourself, but the mere fact that you follow someone he dislikes. Steve, if your skin is so thin, don't be surprised when people use you as a condom to fuck your wife. But the single most damning of all things about this waste of time is the fact that he wishes to have the power to outright purge people from the internet for having views that he disagrees with and for criticizing his views. His hug box that he has built around himself has given him the narcissistic delusion that he is so fucking right about everything out there, that his views are so unquestionable that in his world it is apparently the single most disgraceful affront towards common decency to merely disagree with him. People have for ages tried to debate this guy. Countless people have over the time delivered their counter-arguments on his doorstep, and for that same period of time his response was the block button, which in the end turned him into a pathetic yet hilarious meme. And not content with blocking, he then proceeded to bemoan the fact that he didn't have the almighty power to just purge those who disagree with him from the internet. And this guy now has the audacity to sit there and act as if we were somehow beholden to him, as if we owed him answers, as if we now had to give our response to a question of his, which he will, without a shadow of a doubt, ignore anyway. No, no, no. Fuck you, Steve. Go watch someone fuck your wife.
Why is it that this feminist represents all feminists, but this men's rights activist doesn't represent all men's rights activists?
Whoa, wait, sexism all of a sudden? Ladies and men are different? So we're supposed to punch men and not hit ladies and open doors for men, but not ladies? Fuck you, get out of my face, you tiny piece of shit.
Well, one of those people is willfully disrupting a speaking engagement that an entire audience of people is listening to, and the other is just a crazy guy throwing a fit at McDonald's. And no one has ever made the argument, look at how ridiculous Trigglypuff is! All feminists are like Trigglypuff! It's just that someone like Trigglypuff is such a fucking amazing example of every negative feminist stereotype that how could people not use her on their channels? How could we not show off what an ugly inside and outside buffoon this person is? I mean, does Trigglypuff typify all feminists? No. No, of course she doesn't. But she perfectly embodies all of the worst aspects of feminism. She's whiny, loud, entitled, disruptive, emotionally unstable, and really fucking incredibly stupid and instantly unlikable. Sounds like feminism to me.
Why am I continually asked to answer for the views of feminists if I agree with feminism's overall aims, but don't agree much with those particular feminists? Does that mean that I can ask you to answer for anybody who labels themselves similarly to you, even if you don't agree much?
If you don't agree with the sorts of feminists we go after, then maybe you're not that kind of feminist, and we don't even need to have beef. Maybe you can just sit this whole thing out, and no one will give a shit.
If SJWs are bad because they spend too much time whining and don't talk about real problems, then why aren't you talking about those problems instead of just whining about the other people over and over and over for literally years? I mean, in the scale of priorities, that's like even lower, right? You know, you've got the real problems, you've got the things that feminists worry about, and then you've got you going, oh, how dare they? Just how dare they have different priorities from me? Why can't they do what I do? Whine about whining forever for a living. That's healthy.
And because he begged and pleaded like a little bitch, I'm also letting Kraut and Tea answer this one.
This is fucking amazing. Not only does this kid look like he was stuck in the 1970s, but he seriously sits there accusing us of dedicating too much of our time and content to issues he deems irrelevant, and insists that we should spend our time on more relevant things. I started my channel after the Cologne mass sexual assaults of New Year's Eve to vent my personal outrage over how German feminists made excuses for mass sexual assault. Yes, you heard right. The feminists here in Germany made excuses for the biggest mass sexual assault in decades because the perpetrators were Muslim. After that, we went through one of the most terrifying years in ages here in Europe, with almost monthly terrorist attacks, dozens of prevented attacks, and the social justice warriors just sitting by with their thumbs up their asses, pretending as if nothing was going wrong, or just making excuses for the shit we here in Europe are currently going through. These are the kinds of issues I like to cover. Islam, its undemocratic nature and how social justice makes excuses for it. And what kind of content does Blondie here, who lectures me on the relevance of my content, make? Serious sonic law analysis, the No Man's Sky rant, perverted sentimentality, an analysis of Undertale, power fantasy, male objectification and lady fan service. Projection much, boy?
Why don't you seem as concerned with actual feminist theory in academia as you are with wrecking people for views?
Well, the answer to that is obvious, because when I wreck people for views, I get paid. The feminism I attack is not the feminism of academia, because that carries no weight outside of academia. I attack the pop feminism being pushed in the mainstream media, as well as being propagated on social media sites like Tumblr and Twitter. I attack this brand of feminism because it's this stuff that's really influencing people, not what some old, dried-up lesbian college professor put on her women's studies reading list. You may not like it, but pop feminism is the real feminism. The feminism of almost everyone who actually says, I'm a feminist! And that's all the time that we have for today, but tune in again soon to see parts 2 and 3 of me answering these stupid fucking questions. I'm the Amazing Atheist. If you enjoy my channel, please subscribe to it. Peace the fuck